Hello, so you want to make a jet engine trail. This is actually very simple. First thing we're going to do is delete everything in the 3D viewport. First thing, we're going to add a cylinder. Rotate it on the y-axis. In edit mode with tab, scale it on the x-axis as long as you want the trail to be. With Shift Z, you can go into wireframe and select one of the edges and scale them up. Shift Z, going back to the solid view, we can add a subdivision modifier. You can see at one end that we want flat is very sharp, so we want to increase the crease, the mean crease of this edge. Hitting N, you can open this window and increase the mean crease. And we also want to just add some loop cuts here. So with Control R, you can add loop cut, and page up or down on your keyboard or your scroll wheel will add more loop cuts. And then just left click and right click to put them in place. After, we're going to add a displacement modifier. I'm going to add a new texture and hit this little icon to go into the texture window. And we're just going to add a cloud texture. And you can see everything is displaced like this, but we only want it to go from left and right. So direction, we're going to go on X, which is the direction that it's going in, but it's not the correct direction right now. So we're just going to hit Control A and apply the rotation that we did earlier. And then we're going to increase the strength. But you can see this side, the displacement is bleeding through the flat edge that we want. To fix that, we're going to hit Shift Z to go into wireframe, select everything but that edge, and we're going to create a new vortex group, and we're going to assign all those vertices to the vortex group. As you can see, it's still bleeding through. We want to go into the modifiers, we're going to add that vertex group to the modifier. You can see it kind of helped. So we want to increase the mid-level until it's not bleeding through anymore. Now to animate this, we want to add an empty object, and then go to the modifiers and on displacement. And we're going to change the coordinates from local to object. And with this picker tool, we're going to pick the empty that we made. And if it's bleeding through, you can just increase the mid-level or decrease the strength. We're going to select this empty, and on the x-axis, we're going to animate the location. So we're going to add a driver to the x location of this empty with pound frame. But we want it to go to the other direction because this flame is going from right to left. If you just add a negative in front of it, now this empty will go from right to left. Next step is to add material. But first, we're going to go into rendered view. And we're going to enable bloom. And we're just going to set the world color to black so we can see a little bit better. If you want to pull up this timeline and change it to shader editor, add a new material, delete the principal BSDF, and add an emission material. I'm going to connect that to the surface. And then with Shift A, we can add a gradient texture, plug it into the color. And with Node Wrangler enabled, you want to hit Control T. And with the X location, you can move the gradient. To add some color, you want to add a color ramp and plug it between gradient and texture. On the left side, let's add a dark orange. On the right, add a bright blue. And in the middle, let's just make like a bright yellow. Let's increase the emission strength so to give it some glow. Let's just move this one more to the right and this one a little bit until you like what it looks like. To add some transparency, you want to add a transparent node. You can just select this color, drag it out and let go and just search up transparent BSDF. With Node Wrangler enabled, you can hit Control Shift, right click and drag these two together to mix them together. And then with this factor, you can increase or decrease the transparency. But with Eevee, you want to go into material properties and in blend mode, change it from opaque to alpha blend. And now it will work properly. And you can also do more with this factor. You can drag out this color, search up color ramp, and plug it into the factor, and move these to adjust the flame. But you can see it's not doing it properly. So you want to just hit this arrow and flip the color ramp, and now it's adjusting the strength. We can turn off the overlays to see it better. What I like to do is increase the value of the black color to add more transparency to it as a whole. To add more depth, I like to duplicate this first flame we made, and in edit mode, Shift Z, and select the very front side. With Shift S, you want to go to cursor to selected. Then out of edit mode, an object, set origin to 3D cursor. So now the origin is at this 3D cursor, and you can scale down this first flame. And you can even scale on the x-axis to make it longer. You might want to add a different material to the bigger flame. You can do this by hitting this number 2 symbol and increasing the value of this right stick. And then increasing the emission of the longer one. And now you can adjust the flame strength by adjusting this left side. To animate this plane, you just want to add a curve and adjust the curve. And then back on the object, you want to go to the modifiers and add a curve modifier. And then with the picker tool, you want to select the curve and do the same thing with the other one. To animate these, we can do exactly what we did to the empty. We can add a driver to the x-axis and do the same thing to the smaller flame. You can see it's moving, but it's moving very slowly. To increase the speed, you want to multiply this x value. And there you go. You've just learned how to make a jet engine trail.